So welcome back, everyone. I'm back here with Tyler. We're just continuing our conversation from the last video, essentially talking about how weak my fingers have become and what I can do to help get that strength back. So Tyler, what do you have to offer?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to start with, I think your fingers are probably stronger than you think they are.
Okay.
We're going to talk a little bit about how different people have different kinds of finger strength.
Right.
So we talked a little bit off camera. You feel super comfortable in like that 3-finger drag position, right? So let's start there. If you hold your hand up to the camera, we can see your fingers are a little bit like, I'm going to say like knobbly, like some big swollen knuckles, right? Not like necessarily the straightest, but you also have a super short pinky relative to your other fingers, right? So there's a reason that 3-finger drag is comfortable for you, right? And it's because to get that pinky up, you have to get really far and active to be able to like get your fingers locked in. And I'm assuming like just to get a straight pinky, these fingers have to be much more bent as you're going, right? So 3-finger drag, comfortable for you. What we probably want to train though is those other positions, which would be like a half crimp, maybe a more active half crimp that some people call a chisel, or some sort of a full crimp. But when we're talking about training finger strength, that full crimp takes a lot of weight off of the fingers and onto the thumb. So our two are going to be like a comfortable half crimp and let's say like an engaged half crimp. Okay. With me so far?
Yeah, sounds good.
So we've got a couple different protocols we can follow when it comes to hangboarding. We've got what a lot of people call like repeaters, which would be intervals where you're hanging for a set amount of time, resting for a set amount of time. Most people, when they're thinking of intervals, have sort of like an endurance base with it. So a common one that people see is 7 seconds on, 3 seconds off for multiple hangs.
Okay.
Cool. We say that we're like targeting endurance, right? But you're really working your finger strength at the same time. You're just doing it in a way that's also working your anaerobic system in your forearms.
Yeah, I think that's also a really big thing for me is the anaerobic, or the stamina part, the endurance part. Yeah. Because the strength is there. I feel like I can, hold, but then sometimes it's just...
It's a problem for like a lot of people who exclusively boulder. Like the majority of work we do is like 3 to 4 moves before we fall. Sometimes we spend a whole session doing 2 moves, right? And so like that's not really going to work your power endurance in that way. So doing so on the hangboard is really like safe and measurable, metricable way to kind of incrementally increase that. Same with finger strength though. So if we're just going to improve your absolute strength in that like half crimp or active half crimp position, using the hangboard is a really like safe, measurable way to slowly build that up over time. Some considerations when you're going to start hangboarding. So number 1, what is your training age is what we would call it. That means how long have you been climbing? What's your experience with some sort of like hangboarding or weighted hangs or whatever? And what are your needs as a climber? So for you, right, 3-finger drag is comfortable, but we're looking for that half crimp. You have, how many years have you been climbing?
My age is old. No, I've been climbing over, I think like 10 years or so.
10 years, right. So your fingers are well established. We're ready for you to hangboard. You have a lot of time on the wall. You've established a lot of technique, but a limiting factor for you right now might be that finger strength. So makes sense for you to hangboard. Cool. The next thing we want to ask is, do you have any finger injuries we need to address? I think right now you're feeling good?
Yeah, no, actually feeling really great.
Cool. And then, the other thing I mentioned is, do you need to spend a lot of time working your technique, and is hangboarding ideal for you? So like we were using your son Xavier as an example, right? So what's he doing right now?
So like right now, we actually have this tension board at home, which has all the different rungs. And we were talking about the old 20 mil is the pinnacle, but when he trains, he's very, like you were saying before, very humbling in the sense of ego aside. He actually trains on the 30, right? And he's doing his own thing. He's got his own routine that he's got, and he's primarily just focused on hanging. And he's also, of course, injured,
right?
And so,
or in recovery, right?
He's in recovery, but he's still trying to keep from losing any gains he's had. So he's only been climbing for 1.5 years, and he's not overdoing it in the sense of just climbing. Overdoing it. He's not looking at the campus board. He's not looking at the small edges. Strictly 30 mil. And doing things.
Yeah, if you're somebody who's injured, you can't climb right now, hangboard is a great way to just keep your fingers primed
as long as the injury's not your finger.
For the return. Okay, cool. So I briefly touched on, we've got repeaters, like that 7-on-3 off. Then the kind of opposite end of that spectrum for a lot of people is what we might call like max hangs.
Okay.
And historically what that has looked like is hanging on the 20 mil, getting your weight belt out and like hanging weight off of you for like a 5-second hang or a 7-second hang with much longer rests.
Right.
What we're kind of like learning as we go on as like a climbing community, like Tyler Nelson for Camp for Human Performance, he's kind of like breaking down the stereotypes of like what is effective when it comes to max hangs and like maxing out your finger strength. So we'll get into what like a block pull looks like is the other term.
Right.
But for now, let's just talk over like what your like general finger positioning what we want to look at and how that would apply to some of the different protocols. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. All right. So like you mentioned, the 20 mil is kind of like that industry standard,
right?
But a lot of people, that's too small of an edge for them to even hang body weight on. So in our scenario, we're too tall to use this low hang board. So we have the 20 or the 35 and nothing in between. 35 is too easy for you. Right. 20 is probably a little harder than we want. So when you're at home, you can go with that 30 or that 25 and that'll be more appropriate. For today, we're gonna hang out on this 20 mil. Okay. Just going back to that finger position, half crimp is fingers at half mast, right? So we want usually what that looks like for me is my ring finger and my middle finger are at a 90-degree angle, right? So if you look from the side, we got like a nice 90-degree angle on those. Right. I have a slightly shorter pinky, so when I'm in my comfort zone, my pinky is straight, and my pointer is a little more open than 90 degrees. That's what's comfortable for me. That's where I feel the strongest. Okay. For some people, strongest is with a pinky at 90 degrees, right? And then for some people, it's like, if you look at Adam Andra, his pointer is straight when he's doing like any sort of campus sport workout. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So different for everybody. Yeah. Right? So that's our like neutral half crimp. And then our engaged position, I'm gonna use the 15 because it looks a little bit more exaggerated. Okay. But the way I usually say is like go into a full crimp, wrap your thumb, right? All of my fingers are like bent at 90 degrees or smaller, I guess is the math term. Don't make me do math, but we've got 90 degrees or sharper. And then I just take my thumb off and I try to keep my fingers right there. Okay. So for now, let's start in that comfortable half crimp. All right,
so chalk up.
Yeah, chalk up. And we're not gonna do anything heavy right now because I know you're not warmed up. Okay. We're gonna progress in, but I just wanna make sure that you're comfortable in these positions on that 20 mil.
All right, so 20 mil, half crimp. And so am I full weight hang on this?
No, let's not go full weight yet because we're still warming up. Yeah, I just want you in that position, get to a comfortable situation. All right. Cool. And now all I want you to do is bend your knees, start to add some load to a comfortable degree. Don't let your feet come off the ground. And now once you're in a comfort zone, I want you to just count to 8.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Cool, now let's just stand back up. You can shake out a little bit. That felt okay?
Yeah.
No tinglies in the fingers?
No tinglies in the fingers.
Cool. Yeah. So a lot of people wonder, how do you warm up on a hangboard? If your hangboard is in your doorway at home, right, or like your ankle hurts so you can't climb, you need to warm up, this is how you do it. Okay. If you were gonna bench press or you're gonna squat, you start with the bar, then you add a little bit and you squat again, add a little bit, squat again. We're just gonna progress into what your working weight is, which today is gonna be body weight. Right. And you don't need to measure it if you're not adding weight. Just work into what is like a sustainable, like heavy hang for you. Heavy is always a relative term, but we're gonna aim for what is like comfortable and for you right now, hanging body weight. So give me another set of 8, and
so same concept, just kind of
same concept. I just want you comfortable. Good.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Cool. All right, and that hang position feels comfortable?
Yeah, I actually feel like when I do it that way, I'm really actually loading my pinkies more, or I feel a lot more in the pinky.
When you're just like hanging under it like that? Yeah. So that's a pretty comfortable one. What I hear, what we've talked about before and what I hear from a lot of people is that when they go to grab the edge, especially like some of the smaller edges right before it gets to like too small, is that it feels like their fingers are kind of like rolling back. Yeah. Right, you felt that before.
Yeah, I mean, I find that when I'm on the smaller edges, if I'm actually hanging on, I feel like the fingers are pointing straight up and I'm just hanging on by like the meat of my skin or even the bone. Right. And I really feel like I should be clawing in more, but it's just not there. The fingers are rolling up and I'm not engaging, I would say like I guess the tip of my finger.
Right, yeah, so I view that as another like anatomical thing, especially when we talk about like the 20 mil.
Right.
For some people, like creating that full contact means like having your wrist a little bit more engaged, right? Like if you're like climbing out of an overhang and you're coming from underneath, you're gonna be like fingertips off the edge a little bit, right? But then if I can like engage, create a straight line with my wrist, I can get more of that fingertip on. What you'll also find is when we get into that more active crimp where the pinky is bent, that's when you start to feel like that full point of contact. Right. So for now, our goal is whatever is comfortable and whatever you feel strong in, that's what we want to work. Okay. Let's hit another hang, and like this time try to take a little bit more weight onto the fingers. You could try to lift one foot. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, I can start to feel the middle finger kind of lifting up.
Yeah, so like as you're going there, like you're taking more weight, it starts to lift up a little bit. Totally normal, right? Like as long as it feels strong and comfortable, we're in a good zone. All right. Cool. For people who are looking for like a more structured sort of hangboard warm-up, if you've seen the Emil Abramson video on his like no hang protocol, yeah, his like twice a day, every day for 30 days, insane metrics. Right. All that is a super low intensity, high volume, high frequency hangboard training protocol. Right. Which is why he's able to do it twice a day. It's because it's such low intensity. Right. That's a great warm up for like a heavier hang. Like go through that, which takes like 10 to 15 minutes, I think.
It's like 7.
Yeah, somewhere, I think it's like 10 seconds off, 10 seconds on, 20 seconds off, something like that. I don't have the patience for 20 seconds off in that context. What I do is if I'm looking to warm up, I do 10 seconds on, 3 to 5 seconds off, and I'll do like 10 hangs in each different position I want to hit. Okay, cool.
So I should hop back on.
Yeah, let's do a couple more. All right. And I'm just going to talk through some other things that we want to prioritize. Okay. So I'm going to touch you back here. I want shoulders away from the ears, engaged, right? Like thinking about pulling your scapula all the way down your back. All that's going to do is give you a little bit of protection in the shoulder, making sure that everything's staying engaged, and what you're doing well is keeping elbows straight here. Right? So there's a time and a place to like crank in, hang on your biceps, but for right now, all we want to do is load the fingers, so nice straight elbows, shoulders engaged. Right? Tension makes these separate blocks for people like us with broader shoulders to get a little bit more comfortable. Right. But in this scenario, at least it's evenly spaced.
Yeah, I find like sometimes like in my basement, because mine is mounted to a long beam, and if I'm really trying to get a good pull with the fingers, I would bypass the board, go to the beam at a really nice wide, just to kind of get that pull. Yeah, get that lat engagement, feel nice and broad, right? Yeah. It's just more comfortable too as well, especially like when I was dealing with my tendonitis, it was just a much more comfortable position. So
for the sake of warming up, let's try that more active hang now. Okay. So let's grab onto the 20 mil like you just were. Don't start taking load in it yet. I want you to wrap your thumb like you're full crimping. All right. Good. And now just lift your thumb off your fingers. You can just let it hang out next to it, and now start to load. Don't let the fingers open. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So here's a question, and I'm sure you see like as I'm going through, I don't know what to do with my thumbs. Like my thumbs don't know what they want to do. So look, I'm sure that there is like a correct scientific answer that Tyler Nelson knows, but Tyler Gadigian prefers to say whatever feels comfortable for your thumb. So I go through like different phases where my thumb tucks under, my thumb hangs to the side, my thumb hangs down. Right. Like comfort matters when you're training your fingers. You don't have to like force these awkward things, because climbing on the wall forces awkwardness. Right. This is about forcing some sort of strength adaptation in a controlled way. Got it. So as long as your thumb isn't aiding you, so like what you'll see a lot of people, if they are hanging on this, they'll put their thumb on the side, and that extra friction helps more than you could imagine. Right? So as long as your thumb isn't aiding you. So right there, like if I do this, I think about, my thumb is kind of a cue for me, where I think about like pulling it up over my fingers. That's what keeps my fingers like moving upward, if that makes sense. All right, let's try. Let's try another. So get in, wrap the thumb, release it, and now, good. And you feeling that in your wrist a little bit as you drive the thumb up? Yeah, I feel like my connective tissue in my wrist gets like pretty active, pretty pumped as I'm doing that. No, for sure, I felt that in the wrist.
Sweet. Okay, so So we're gonna say that your fingers are like moderately warm now.
Yep.
Here's what our next step would be. Like, let's pretend your first time hangboarding ever.
Okay.
We wanna find the edge size for you. That means you can hang in the 12 to 15 second range.
Okay.
Ideally closer to that 15, because most of our working sets are gonna be in the 7 to 10 second range.
Right.
And what we wanna do is stay 80% or below of what our max would be. So if I can hang for 15 seconds, that's my limit. And I can hang 3, 6, 9, 12 is 12 seconds is 80% of 15 seconds.
Right. Okay.
So I want to be doing hangs that are 12 seconds or below. And since I'm doing a hang with a rest that is either shorter or equal to my my hang time,
Yep.
I want to stay further away from that 80%.
Okay.
So if 15 seconds is your max, let's hang out at that 7 to 8 second range. Yeah, make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. So you feeling warm for body weight, or you want to just simulate it right now?
We'll see. Let's see how we
Yeah.
look. So
Let's simulate it for now. We're gonna do a very shortened version of what the protocol is,
Yep.
and then I'm gonna talk through what the whole thing is. All right.
sounds great.
So let's grab that 20 mil. Let's go back to that comfortable half crimp.
Okay.
Good. And now hang as you want weight, and I'm gonna just count out for you.
Okay.
So ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Relax.
Oh.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Back
7.
on.
We're going 13, 10, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Rest for 13 this time,
Oh,
too.
13.
30.
Okay.
Should have explained for us.
Yeah, that's good.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Rest. Cool. Let's take that as the example. How you
Okay.
feeling after that 7:13?
Good. Yeah.
Cool. So 7-3 is like that normal repeater protocol.
Right.
7-13, 10-10, 7-23. You can manipulate the numbers however you really want. Where we get into specificity is like those intervals determine what energy system you're training.
Right.
So 7-3, you're working that in that anaerobic endurance a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're a sport climber, a little bit more specific, but if you're a sport climber with weak fingers, you probably want to be doing something more like max hangs. It's more strength-based, which means like 7 seconds on, 53 seconds off. That's like the classic Eric Hurst protocol.
Right.
And remember, we're using the 20 mil, can be the 30, can be the 25, can be the 35, whatever's appropriate for you where you're at. And honestly, it changes day by day. If I'm feeling really good, I might do some heavy hangs on the 15, but I've been climbing outside for like 3 days on, 1 day off for 6 weeks, right? Like 20 is probably gonna be a little more comfortable for me, and I'm not gonna go super heavy because my knuckles hurt at that point.
Right. And also
Right.
skin. Right? You know.
Skin is huge. Let's talk about skincare for the hangboard, right?
Right.
Wash your hands before you get on. If you were to touch your window and you would leave streaks on your window, don't touch the hangboard that everybody uses. Don't touch the holds on somebody else's project because you have gross oil all over your fingers.
Right.
Wash your hands.
Yeah.
Right? I do like a little spray bottle of rubbing alcohol,
Okay.
and I'll use that pretty regularly throughout a session and just spray it and like wipe it off on my pants to just like get everything off.
Yeah.
Brush the holds too. We don't have to do it right now, but like brush the hangboard. You would brush the holds on your project. Brush the hangboards that you have a consistent like friction on the edge.
Yeah, no, for
Makes
sure.
sense.
As it gets gummed up, sweating, it doesn't
Yeah.
get as bad as, a typical hold, but
Right.
definitely can.
Yeah, especially like the wood stays on the nicer side, but it can get greasy.
Yeah, no, for sure.
We don't get a ton of traffic on our board here,
Right.
but if you go to some of the bigger, more commercial gyms,
Yeah.
they are like these weird like grease pits. It's
Yeah.
nasty. Okay, so let's talk through like some of those different protocol options. My favorites, we've got a 7 on 3 off. But I think my favorite is a 10 on 10 off.
Okay.
And then we can talk about how many reps you do. So if I'm doing a 7 on 3 off, I'm gonna do 12 hangs, which takes me 2 minutes per set.
All right.
Right, so 10 seconds per, like 7 seconds on, 3 seconds off is 10 seconds, times 12 is 120 seconds, 2 minutes, then I'm gonna rest 2 minutes,
Okay.
and I'm gonna do 3 sets of that.
All right.
Cool, easy, right? That's 2, 4, so 4 minutes per set, so the whole thing takes me 12 minutes after my warm-up.
Right.
Easy, right? Less than 20 minutes, I'm in and out, I'm gonna do it, it's no problem. Cool. Let's talk about that 10 on, 10 off, because that's my personal favorite. I get a little bit of everything there. 10 seconds is hard, right? It taxes your fingers, taxes your forearms.
Sure.
But you get a one-to-one rest. So you get a little bit more rest. You're not working as much of that anaerobic system, so you have a little bit more gas in your tank for each hang. And because we're doing 10 hangs, you're also getting a little bit of volume. So you're getting moderate intensity, moderate volume, and then frequency is determined by how many times in the week you do it.
Okay.
But we're gonna do the same rest and sets for that. So 10 on, 10 off, rest 2 minutes, 3 sets. Easy.
Yeah.
Cool. I finished all my hangs in either protocol, finished all my hangs this session. Next session, let's add 5 pounds.
Okay.
5 pounds, finished all my hangs, cool. Next session, let's add 5 pounds. But I didn't finish all my hangs on that one.
Right.
Let's stay there.
Yeah.
Or my fingers hurt a lot when I did that. Let's go back down. Let's do a 2.5 pound jump. Progressive overload is always the name of the game.
Okay.
And the key word is progressive. Not big jumps,
Okay.
consistency over time. What I usually tell people that come to me and they say, like, I've been hangboarding and I do this, I say, take all your numbers and cut them in half, and we're gonna start from a healthier place.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah,
Right?
no, for sure.
Yeah. So let's take you as an example for like this programming side of it.
Mm-hmm.
We're just getting into comp season, right?
Yep.
Between gaining strength, and maintaining health, or like finger recovery, what do you think are the ones you want to prioritize right now?
Well, I mean, so I'm getting back into climbing about 3 days a week. I'm not competing every weekend, which is wonderful. So I can get some time, I would think, to get some rest in. So for me, the goal is really the strength part. I'm looking to really kind of get into. So strength, what else do I have? Strength.
Strength, let's say like upkeep or recovery.
Strength, and then I want to be able to recover as well.
Cool. Strength and recovery. Right. Upkeep comes a little bit later in the season, right? So for you, and like this is where we're like right on the cusp. I always say like don't cram for the exam.
Right.
Like the summer, great time to like dig yourself into that recovery hole, right? And get into like that, let's say like big gain phase.
Right.
But like during the comp season, we were competing every weekend like we do in the Northeast. It's too much, but like you can't gain strength and not get injured. It just won't happen.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So in that point, we want to like maintain and focus on recovery, or just focus on recovery, right? And that's really up to the person, up to your joints.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. So let's talk about what I like to do for like gaining that main strength. Let's backtrack a bit to the summer.
Okay.
I'm gonna grab your block here.
Okay.
Because I think that like pulling weight off the ground with a block is my favorite way to gain finger strength right now. Okay. For a couple of reasons. Number one, my weight fluctuates. Okay, so weight, throughout the season, I can gain anywhere from 5 to 15 pounds and lose anywhere from 5 to 15 pounds.
Absolutely.
I've been 170 and 185 like in the last 8 months. Right? Like if I'm hanging just body weight, 15 pounds is a big gap. Imagine if I said, like do your regular set of pull-ups but add 15 pounds. It's not nothing. Right? So the block eliminates that. The other thing it eliminates is shoulder strength from this, right? So some people with stronger shoulders get like that assist from it. If you have weaker shoulders, it might make it harder. All we're doing is lifting weight off the ground. Okay. So on this block, we have a 20, we have a 10, we have a pocket. I'm gonna stick with the 20 for this. Okay. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this loading pin.
All right, let me change the camera here a little bit.
I'm gonna grab this loading pin. I'm gonna stand with my feet on either side. Nice neutral spine, fingers in that comfortable half grip. All I'm gonna do is lift that weight off the ground. Straight elbow, engage shoulder, straight back. And this is 35 pounds, it's not heavy. And then I'm gonna switch to the other side. Good. And my two things I can do with this, I can do like reps of a lift, right? And I can just get it off the ground, put it back down. Or I can pick time intervals that I wanna hold. So I can lift for a 5-second hang, put it back down, switch hands. Or I can lift for a 10-second hang, or I can do that 7-on-3 off repeater. I can do whatever I want, just in a much more like measurable way and specific to each hand. Okay, cool. Let's give that a shot. How do you feel?
And I typically see like when I watch you doing this, you usually have like blocks under your feet.
Yeah, I'll usually put like a yoga block under, so it's a little bit more comfortable to lift.
Come up.
Good. See, 4, 5.
Yep.
Good.
Okay. All right, and
1, 2, 3. Good. 4, 5,
Yes.
relax. Cool.
Then I was bending
Easy,
up a little bit.
A little bit, right? And my left arm comes up a little bit too. It's because my left fingers are weaker, so I try to compensate with the bicep, keep that arm straight, which is easier with the blocks underneath.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Cool. Super easy, right? Like, and the reason I like this as well, you can very specifically warm up to your working weight.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Stack it on.
yeah, so like I don't like to say my numbers because people get fixated on like, he's strong or weak and I can't be like this is scalable to your needs, right? So pick the weight that's appropriate to you and don't bring any ego into it, right? Like people say like, I want to bench 225 when they like, because it's like this round number, it's 245 pound plates. Two plates. Who cares, right? Like, but like, so we're basically taking exactly what this is and just putting it in a more like measurable fashion that is also like, my lats are super sore or whatever, like all of this is super comfortable. I can also use this to train my pocket. I can use it to train the 10 mil, which for me, like hanging on the 10 mil is hard and it hurts my skin a lot.
Right.
And so I can just take this 10 mil and I can use 35 pounds and it's gonna slip because I don't have chalk on, but I can use that 35 and I can be in that engaged crimp, but I'm able to like slowly load that position.
And that actually would really help when you're for loading to the fingertips.
Exactly.
As opposed to the,
right, we talked about that like roll open.
Right.
Like we can train to like force that roll to stop. Right. And then the other thing that's really nice about the block is I can just pinch it and I can start working my pinch strength.
Right. And you just kind of change the strings.
Yeah, you just pull the strings to the side.
Most people don't realize you can do that with the block. That's actually a pinch is an option if you configure the strings properly. Just look at your documentation on this. If you can actually find one of these blocks.
Just like that, all right? Yeah, if you can find a block. They sold out here immediately. But so my favorite protocol for this right now is I do 5 seconds on my right hand, 5 seconds on my left, rest 1 minute, 3 sets. And usually for me, I'll do the 20 mil, then I'll do the 10 mil, then I'll do a 3-finger drag on the 20 mil, then I'll do my pinches. Right. I've done the pocket before. I don't love it. Just because it's like kind of a stressful hang.
For me, that open hand, like all day.
Every time I've gotten injured, it's been on pockets. So I try to train it, but like I feel like it's just not worth the bang for the buck. But that's the loading pin, right? Put weight on it, build up.
And so you have to you do a percentage of your
percentage of max, right? So what might be useful for people with a coach present,
right?
Find out what your max is for like a 10-second hang,
right?
And then for a 5-second hang, you can do 80% of that 10 seconds, something like that. Like I say, like test at what is like a more difficult protocol. So like you're not gonna get as hurt if you're overdoing it with a 10-second hang because you just can't go as heavy,
right?
Versus a 5-second hang. Your fingers will give out before you'll get hurt, right? But we want to find what your max is for a 5-second hold. And then we want to say 80% or lower. And since we have a very specific amount of weight, very easy to calculate that 80%. Use your calculator. I can't do math. My homework for you is I want 1 session of that 10 on, 10 off on either the 30 or the 25. Let's do the 30 for the first time you do it. 25 if the 30 works well. 15. Let's like build towards that. One session of that 10 on, 10 off. And 1 session of block pulls for the next 4 weeks. Just 1 and 1 in addition to your regular climbing. And let's see where you're at after that.
All right, so that's it for today. Just some things. Like number 1, if you like the video, please like, subscribe. Definitely check out Tyler on Instagram. You have your Bagel Boys climbing.
I got Bagel Boys climbing. Peep the shirt.
Yeah, Bagel Boys.
We got a new shirt drop coming soon. Be on the lookout. Pre-order only. We got Bagel Boys climbing. That's like my silly goose stuff. But really, if you're looking for some programming, if you're looking for coaching, feedback on your climbing, Tyler G Coaching on Instagram. Check that out. Slide in the DMs. Let me know if you're looking for a program. Especially with fall season coming up. It's actually harder to program for like maintenance than it is for strength gain.
Right.
So it's a great time to start working with a coach, get the most out of like your preseason prep, and try to stay healthy throughout the season and
Absolutely.
not lose strength as you're going.
Speaking of the season, we have some comps coming up here at the Cliffs, right?
Yeah, for sure. So October 20th is our Halloween flash comp. Make sure to check us out. Here you go. Halloween flash comp. Come check us out. 4 boulders per category, 1 attempt on each boulder. Must climb in costume.
Yes, and costume. All right, gotta remember that. Gotta get a costume.
Yeah.
And also, if you are interested in just hanging out with us, you are both going to be at Vital. You're doing the
Vital. October 7th.
October 7th.
Yeah.
Right? So come check it out. Compete. Say hi.
Hey.
Let us know what else you want. So, like with that said, we got to get back to going. Tyler, thank you again.
Yeah, thanks
We'll see
very
you guys
much.
next time. All right, guys.
Sweet.